Where did your own energy go?
I gave it back to me.
Oh, okay.
I want to see it.
It's very similar to yours.
Just hers is
You want it?
purple.
I know.
Yeah, listening.
Okay, we are recording. Alameda, 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 Alameda. Okay, good morning, everyone. Ohayou gozaimasu. So this is our family service for today, and making a few adaptations here. I'll be the chairperson for today. I'm not going to play the organ for you. So we are recording and sending this out to our members here and to Enmanji Temple as well. So this is a family service. And with these adjustments, I think it's good. Last week we had some difficulty. We only had the one camera functioning, and and testing it earlier in the week. Seems like we're all going, everything's up to speed, so happy about that. So go through the service order for today. We're going to have the reading of the three treasures in the service book. It's on page 8. And then the Daisanmon, the same three treasures in Japanese, on page 6. And then we'll do our sutra chanting with the Sambujo. This is on page 24, 25. And the main sutra chanting is the Ju Nidai on page 67. Lots of pages to remember, so we get used to this. So Nembutsu and Ekoku will complete the chanting portion of our service, and then I'll come back for our Dharma message. Okay. So with that, we'll begin with the three treasures, page 8. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Daisanmon, page 6. Ninjin ukegatashi imasure ni uku, poppo kikigatashi imasure ni kiku, konomi konjo ni mukatte dosezumba sarani konomi o dosen. 大衆もろともに指針に参謀に消えし立て祭るべし。自ら仏に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくば主情とともに大道を体現して無常意を起こさん。自ら法に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくば主情とともに深く共造に入りて知恵海のごとくならん。自らそうに消し立て祭る。まさに願わくば主情とともに大衆を通りして一切無下ならん。無常人人未明の方は百千万号にも愛をことかたし、我今検問地従事することを得たり、願わくば如来の真実義を消し立て祭らん。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナマンダナマンダナマンダ。Sutra chanting, Sambujo, page 24, Junirai, page 67. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Zen gon shoujo meo dai za おいざ上如線の子が将来見出そう実法将来勝負し変幻人図し安楽戦後尊厳上行子が将来見出そう小無常無我と逆如水月伝如老一種説法無名字子が将来見出そう一尊不説無悪名薬無如人なく道夫主任死心教非尊子が将来見出そう一尊無量法勉強無所主悪知識往生不退死菩提子が将来見出そう我説非相了解水小逆前言小乗者衛生種上昇Okay, good morning again. I wanted to share a short story. You know, when I was at another temple, Idaho, Oregon Buddhist temple, we would have school field trips come, and there'd be a yellow bus parked in our parking lot, and all these little third, fourth graders would come into the temple, and not on a Sunday, on a weekday. So it would just be me and a bunch of kids sitting in the front few rows, and they had never been to a Buddhist temple before, so they're looking at everything and wondering what the different things are and the colors and taking it all in, and it's very attractive to see, unusual for the school kids to see such a thing. And what I would have them do, I would have them do the sutra chanting. So I tell them, pass out the books and turn to page such and such, and we're going to do this sutra chanting. And I explain to them, at first you might not want to participate, you might not know what's going on. Maybe these are odd sounds and syllables and you have no idea what's going on. But if you just try it, and maybe 1/3 of the way through, you'll notice that all these different voices become one voice. At first, you're maybe giggling at the sounds that your neighbor's making, or you're hesitant to make the sounds yourself, and you're not sure what to make of it all. But as you go into it, all the voices become one voice. And so then we do the sutra chanting, and after we're finished, I ask them, what do you think? Did you feel that? It's not understanding, but the sense of feeling of everybody coming to be one voice, and every time it's like, I get it. And so they would be very comfortable with it, even though chanting for the very first time. It's kind of nice that they would think to try it and look into themselves, their own feelings, their own struggle, and then they understand what I'm trying to say, what they felt as they started to do the chanting. So I get it. So such a nice reaction that I would get from them, and sometimes our own visitors or members, and I don't get the Japanese, so let me read this. I'll just kind of absorb that instead. But rather than, when you do that, that's okay, but you get into your head and you're not into your body where you can hear everything becoming one. So there's a different thing, and as we chant, it becomes a meditative process then instead of a academic learning process. So a little bit of different thing is happening as we do the chanting. So that's nice to review every now and then. So today I was going to kind of connect it to that, but I was going to talk about taking and giving and receiving. So, what was it? A couple of weeks ago, the IMA ministers came and as part of their training to learn how things are done at our temples in America and taking turns speaking. And then afterwards, our members put out some food and they were able to visit with each other and sit at different tables and just enjoy the food. And one of the things that you'll notice here at the temple is when we sit down to eat, everyone will go, itadakimasu, and this gesture of gratitude before we take in the meal. And it's not only done with food. So taking, giving, and receiving is kind of this process. And it's kind of like a personal evolution, okay? A developmental process that we all go through. So taking, it's kind of like the animal drives. I want this, let me have this. Even a baby is crying. I want milk, I want warmth, hold me. It's just a very basic need, still kind of like an animal level that the mother hears the baby crying, takes them in and feeds them, and so relieving this need, animal need, okay? And the giving is the mother's sense, here, have some food, have some treats. The members saying, sit down, sensei, have some tea, have some coffee, right? And so we're kind of beginning to understand that we need to share, that we are all in this interdependent life together. So my sense, not only of me, but my sense of recognition, beginning to understand this impermanence, interdependence, and compassion to give to someone else. Let them feel at ease here. We have guests here who are here for the first time here. You are welcome to be here. So this is. And then eventually it moves from there because that initial sharing is still coming from the self. Okay? Still coming from the self. So then it goes on beyond the self into our understanding of our own limitations of self, and then everything is given to us. Everything is given to us. So from beyond the self, receiving, the sense of receiving. And so we come to recognize that, I didn't just want this steak. I didn't just run to Safeway to buy this package of steaks, So many people were involved in providing the steak for me. The butcher, whoever packed it nicely and put them all in a row in the refrigerated shelves, or the ranchers who raised the cattle and had them slaughtered at the slaughterhouse, trucks, so many things are involved. Infinite if you look more and more and more. So we are interconnected with this infinite reality, and this, to begin to understand this, then everything is received, from the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the people around us. All of this is being received. And so when we receive and say itadakimasu before the food, you'll notice here at the temple, we'll have sutra chanting, page 67, and people grab the book, not just open the book. Okay? So this is itadakimasu. I gratefully receive. So the words of the Dharma, we gratefully receive. The meal we're about to have, we gratefully receive. So this is the evolution process. And we're stepping beyond just this human realm of ego-centeredness to this interconnected realm. Right? So this is an easy way to remember, and it's a nice way to remind when we sit down to a meal. It's kind of like saying grace, but it's a different recognition at the same time. So itadaku means to put something over the head. Okay? So this is why we're doing this, and this is why we're doing this. Okay? So yeah, it's just something like a humbleness and an awareness of this interconnection all around us. And this became prominent in Japan because of the school of Buddhism. It's not a Buddhist practice. Even our members say, well, is that Japanese or is that Buddhist? Right? And it's not necessarily Buddhist, but the Buddhists have adopted it, and pretty much this school, Jodo Shinchi Buddhism, Shin Buddhism, those ministers who are with everyday families, they are running schools and nursery schools and telling these children to gratefully receive everything, gratefully receive your meal. And then this was adopted in Japan by the teachers at the schools, telling the students to think of all living things, okay? Not just receiving this ball of rice or umeboshi or something, but all living things, and you thank the emperor and you thank your parents, okay? Interesting that they added the emperor to this thought process, but I think even more interesting is that they're saying thank you to all living things, right? Not only the emperor, not only your parents, but all living things first. Then the emperor, then your parents, that we are receiving from these other people, that we're able to receive something. And then they would end this sense of appreciation and gratitude with hands together, itadakimasu. And when they do this, then every piece of food becomes important, and kind of the sense that it's so important, I'm not going to leave even a mouthful of food on my plate. I'm going to have all of it. So this gratitude and reflection is part of every meal, every time we sit down with the family, with our fellow students. And so we are thinking of all living things, our interconnection with all things. So this is the gratitude of itadakimasu. Okay. So another reason I'm sharing this is that I got a email from a different group. I'm not going to share their name, but they wanted to connect with our temple and show us how to transition into eating vegetarian meals here, right? And they thought that was more of a Buddhistic practice to be vegetarian. And a lot of people think that, do you know? One of the questions I get when people visit, are you vegetarian? You don't eat meat here, do you? And we eat meat regularly here, right? As Jodo Shinchu, right? I have service outside before they're cooking the teriyaki chicken, right? I throw incense in the chicken pit, and then we do a chanting, appreciating all the chickens who have sacrificed their lives so that we can run this temple here, right? And so this group is approaching us and sent this email, and part of it saying all of our services are free. We're given with compassion in mind and heart, and we have consultants available for you if you want to transition your menu to a compassion-based foods. Okay, so they call it that. It's vegetarian, but they're calling it compassion-based foods. Sounds nice, right? So don't eat meat. You know, you're killing animals. Did you know that? Right. So we do menu assessments, menu planning, recipe selections. We answer questions to your health regarding your health. We do all of this is free. So if you have concerns related to your diet, we can put you in touch with experts on the science of nutrition. If you want to talk about people who are very experienced in the Dharma, and if you would like some financial support, we're trying to expand our financial support programs as well. So we have all these things to offer you, and in a sense, nice of them, but in a sense, I kind of took it as a little bit condescending, you know, like we know and you don't. If you're eating meat, you don't. So let us help you. And it took me a while to respond to them, and you know, I didn't think it was particularly fitting here at this temple and with all the things we do here. And so I told them thank you, but no thank you, you know. So in thinking of that, you know, there's another story that I've shared here, and there was a Zen priest in Japan many, many years ago in the 1800s, and he would love that when the children would come and visit the temple, and he had like a vase of candy, and the kids knew there was candy in there. So, but the shape of this jar was such that they could see the candy, and they put their hand in it, and they grab the candy. But when they have a fist, their fist can't come out of the jar, right? So they have to let go to get their hand out. So they would each try to get the candy, and then they'd have to let go. And so he would watch this one by one, and then finally he'd shake some candy out and hand it to them. And so after they received their candy, then he tells them about itadakimasu and our interconnection with the infinite, right? And so even in this little interaction with the teacher, the sensei, and the children, you could see the me animal drive from the kids to, you know, sharing from the sensei, and then he expands it to this are interconnected with all of reality is why we say itadakimasu. And so if we can take no matter what food we receive with this sense of deep awareness and appreciation, I think we are able to eat anything. So I'm reminded, you know, I tell this often, Kusada Sensei, when I was a graduate student, taking my first classes in Buddhism, and we were preparing a meal, and the sensei there was getting ready to eat, and he says, yeah, we must have our meal so that we can continue to have the strength to share the Dharma. And I thought, what an odd perspective It's the farthest thing from my mind at that time. I just wanted some good food and a beer to share with everybody else, you know, and I was just hungry to think that I'm nourishing my body to share the Dharma. I didn't think of that. And I held that thought, you know, not for years, for decades. You know, his voice would come to me, what does that mean? What does that mean? And it took decades for me to recognize how deeply he was thinking of his own actions in sharing the Dharma. And so, yeah, initially it could not comprehend. So very difficult. But each of these things, no matter what we eat, we can have anything as long as we are taking care of ourselves physically and enabling ourselves to continue on, to share life, share the Dharma, share our concern and consideration for each other. And to do this is to live a Buddhist life. Okay? So please join me in Gassho, and we will conclude this. Taking, giving, receiving. Personal evolution, a developmental process. From animal drives to beginning to recognize our impermanence, our interdependence, and 10, to deeply understand our individual limitations, and then to receive all the things that are bestowed upon us, moving beyond ourselves to our connection to all of reality. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda. Okay, thank you. Do we have any announcements? Not too many. I do have a couple. Next week we're going to have our Dharma School class. So at 9:30 we'll have some of the Dharma School families here and a session with them before service. And at the end of next week's service, we're going to have our Ask Reverend Dennis. We haven't done this for a while, but it's an opportunity for people to ask me questions and I kind of respond, kind of a spontaneous thing initially. And we started this when we had services live and people would just ask questions. And so we're going to do this again. So obviously, if you're here, just raise your hand and ask me any kind of question. Or if you're watching from home, you're going to have to send your questions ahead of time through email. So you can ask me questions from either temple and I can respond. So if you ask me a question, make sure you come to service. You know, I don't like to answer questions and you're not even here. You know, what's the point of that? So we're going to do this. It's a short session. It's like 5-10 minutes. We don't take a big amount of time. We're going to incorporate this once again. So these are all welcome. And certainly the questions are welcome anytime. You can send me an email. And I can't wait for the next Ask Reverend Dennis. Can you send me your answer now? Or whatever you want to begin a dialogue and to explore Buddhism. That's always an opportunity, okay? But this session will begin. So I see that the incense is still burning. So we would like to thank everyone involved in providing this service today. We have the flowers and the fruit offerings and the rice offerings that are placed on the altar setting. And people are still involved. Tech people to set up all the cameras and to send the YouTube out to our families at home and to the Enmanji temple. And we appreciate everyone who's involved to keep the services going, keep the temples going. So with that, let's conclude. Join me in Gassho one more time. Do you remember how I showed you how to put these onenji on? Good, very good. On your left hand, and then you put your right hand in. Can you do this part? Yeah, good, okay. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good, good, good. Thank you very much. Okay, please come up and offer incense. Very good.